next step is to do your straps. And the first thing that you want to do is determine how long you want your straps, which we usually use this demo bag to help you determine that. So you can put the bag on and decide if you like this length. If you do, then you just measure the entire length from the end of the strap to the end of the strap, and you can cut your strap that length. But if you decide that you want a shorter strap or a longer strap, you're just going to make that determination while the bag is on you. Make that measurement, being sure that you include in the length of the strap this excess of strap that goes on the inside. So whatever your length, total length is, you want to add 1.5 inches and 1.5 inches, which equals 3 inches. So I've determined that I want the finished length of my strap to be 37 inches. So I've cut my strap a total of 40 inches long. That's the strap part. Now I want to cut the fabric that it's going to be covered with, and I want that to be the same length, 40 inches, and I want it to be 3.5 inches wide. So I'm going to measure with my gridded ruler out 3.5 inches from either the selvage edge or a cleanly ripped edge. 3.5 inches from that edge. And then you're going to cut along that newly marked line, that chalk line that you've marked. Next we're going to be pinning the fabric onto the inner strap, which is this belting that we've already cut out, webbing that we've cut out. We're going to lay the fabric right side up, and we're going to center it so that the cut edge is right down the middle of the webbing. So you're covering up half of it as you're pinning. And I'm going to put my pins pretty close together, like about every inch or so. The first stitch that we're going to do on the strap is a zigzag stitch. So you're going to adjust the stitch width knob here at the top to a size 5, and you do that by turning this outer wheel to the right. We're going all the way to the size 5, the biggest zigzag. We're also going to switch the stitch length to a size 5 as well. So we're going to get a really large zigzag on this one. So we're going to be sewing right along the side of this ripped or cut edge of the fabric. And a good way to line that up is by laying the inside edge of your presser foot on the edge of the fabric. Not the edge of the strap or the webbing, but the edge of the fabric. And that's where the foot is going to be positioned. We're also going to be using a strip of sandpaper to help us keep the fabric and the strap in as a unit. And we're going to slide that sandpaper underneath the left side of the foot so that it's just to the left of the needle as we're sewing. What that does is it serves to keep the fabric from shifting as we're sewing it onto this very sturdy piece of webbing. And we're just going to use a back stitch like we always do. Just following the edge of the fabric with the inside edge of the presser foot. Keeping the sandpaper along the left side of the foot. And just take it slow. And then when you get to the end of the sandpaper, you have to lift up the presser foot and readjust the sandpaper. sandpaper kind of gets away from you, you can slip the sandpaper back underneath. And the idea with the sandpaper is that it's to the left of your needle, so you're not actually sewing through the sandpaper. After you do your zigzagging, then you're going to press the fabric side of the strap. Now you want to, I've learned this the hard way, you want to avoid pressing directly on the webbing. It's made out of nylon, and nylon does not withstand high heat. So when you're pressing, you're only pressing on the fabric. That's the first step. The next step is to turn the strap over and press this edge of the strap in. Again, you're just pressing along the fabric, just that little fabric edge. Then you'll turn it again, pressing it up. Now you can press the entire strap because now it's completely covered by the fabric. We're pressing that edge up. Okay, so then you want to turn this last edge under so that it's folded right along the other edge of the strap, and press. And you're going to press and pin, you know, a few inches at a time, maybe 3 to 5 inches at a time. Fold, press, and pin, and then fold, press, and pin. When you go back to the sewing machine, we're going to go back to a straight stitch. So we're going to adjust the stitch width knob back to 0, and we're going to adjust the stitch length knob to a 3. Okay. We're going to do this stitch also with using the sandpaper, and we're going to stitch right at about 1/8 of an inch from the edge of the strap, which, as you probably remember from the pocket, we're going to line this edge of the presser foot with the edge of the strap. You're going to be sewing back stitching at both ends, again using the sandpaper. Then you'll sew the other side of the strap the same way, sewing a stitch line 1/8 of an inch from the edge of the strap, using the sandpaper again. So the next step is to overlock the edges of the straps. At this point, what you can do is, with the overlock machine, you can trim off any excess webbing or any excess fabric. You want the edges of the fabric to be even with the edges of the webbing. So that it looks like that. For a bag where you're doing 2 straps, you're going to mark the strap placement in line with the pocket. So you'll square up from the top and the outer edge of the pocket and mark a chalk line on that outer edge. Then, for the 2-strap bag, you'll lay the outer edge of the strap along that chalk line and the what would be the bottom edge of the strap along the top edge of the tote bag. And you'll do that on the other side of the strap as well, making sure that this strap doesn't twist. And then you'll pin that on. Then what you'll do is you'll mark down 1.5 inches from the top edge of the bag and put a chalk mark there. So your stitching line is going to be right along the top edge of the strap, along the stitching line of the strap, along the chalk line, and then up the other side of the stitching line on the strap. And then you're going to stitch it in an X, and you'll see all this when we get to the sewing machine. To mark the other side of the bag, where the other strap goes, you lay the bag out with the side seams along the edges and find your placement from the opposite side and pin that on. And making sure that the strap doesn't twist. Like that. You will now sew the strap onto the top of the bag where you've pinned it and as you've marked it. You're going to start at the top edge and stitch till you get almost to the edge of the strap. Pivot and then follow the stitching on the strap until you get to the chalk line at the bottom and 1.5 inches from the top. Pivot. Pivot again and stitch along the other edge of the strap. And then when you get to the top, you're going to pivot one more time and go over that top edge a second time. And that serves as a back stitch. And then you'll pull it out. Clip your threads. Then you're going to stitch on the X that you've marked in chalk. So you'll stitch one side of the X and then the other side. So you start at the top edge. You're going to stitch with the back stitch, following your chalk line. Get to the other corner, opposite corner, and back stitch. You clip your threads and you'll sew the other side of the X. Sewing from one side to the opposite corner, back stitching at both ends.